Imagine a scenario for a second. It is 3 o'clock in the morning, and you are fast asleep.
Right, the house is just completely dark.
Completely dark, completely quiet. There's no wind outside, no cars driving by. And suddenly, you just wake up.
And you don't even know why at first.
No, you just lie there in the stillness. But then, you distinctly feel the weight of someone sitting down on the edge of your bed.
Oh, wow, yeah, like the mattress actually dips.
It dips under the pressure. Or maybe, out of nowhere, your bedroom is just filled with the unmistakable scent of a departed loved one's cologne, like the exact brand they wore every single day for 40 years.
That is such a jarring, visceral experience.
It really is. And in that split second, the immediate question racing through your mind isn't, am I crazy? The question is, why did that feel so incredibly real?
Because it completely stops you in your tracks, right?
Yeah.
The veil between memory and reality just seems to vanish. What you were describing is what researchers call an after-death communication, or an ADC.
Okay, an ADC.
Yeah. These are spontaneous, unexpected experiences where people feel they have been directly contacted by someone who has died. And to be clear, we aren't talking about going to a medium or participating in a seance.
Right. Not like trying to induce a trance or anything.
Exactly. We are talking about unprompted, vivid, direct, sensory or quasi-sensory encounters that just happen in everyday environments.
Welcome, listeners, to another My Mind MashUps deep dive where we unravel mysteries, spark curiosity, and make sense of complex ideas together.
It is great to be here.
And before we get into the mechanisms behind these midnight encounters, I just want to take a quick moment to say a massive thank you to all the listeners who showed their appreciation by buying us a coffee recently.
Yes, thank you so much, guys.
Your support keeps the research going and keeps the mics on, and we are so incredibly grateful for this community. Every deep dive we do is about 3 core things: sparking curiosity, challenging assumptions, and expanding understanding. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you enjoy content that makes you think.
And the assumptions surrounding this specific topic are, well, they're deeply entrenched. I mean, Western cultures, we often immediately pathologize anything we can't easily measure.
We really do. We just write it off.
Right. But when you strip away the stigma and look at the broader human experience, these unprompted encounters are not an anomaly. They're a fundamental part of how humans process loss.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because if you have experienced something like that midnight awakening I just described, the absolute first thing you need to know is that you are incredibly far from alone.
You really aren't.
The scale of this phenomenon is just staggering. But because there is such a heavy stigma, people naturally tend to keep these moments completely secret.
Yeah, they don't tell their doctors. They often don't even tell their spouses,
Exactly. But when psychologists guarantee anonymity and ask the right questions without judgment, the floodgates open. The data shows that anywhere from 1/3 to over 82% of bereaved individuals report having these experiences.
Over 82%. Just let that sink in. And it stretches far beyond those in acute or recent mourning.
Really? So it's not just right after a loss?
Not at all. Large-scale surveys, like a recent Pew study, indicate that nearly 44% of all Americans have had at least one such experience in the past year alone.
Wait, almost half the country?
Almost half. Think about the people you pass in the grocery store. Almost half of them have felt the presence of someone who has passed on recently. And in a nationwide study conducted in Brazil, half of the entire population sample reported feeling the presence of a dead person at some point in their lives.
Half the country. I mean, that really grounds it. And it isn't just a vague, ghostly intuition either. We are talking about highly specific multisensory experiences.
Very specific. Up to 48% report feeling a distinct presence.
And nearly half of the people who report these encounters actually see a physical figure or hear a distinct voice. Over 1/4 report smelling something incredibly specific.
Like that cologne we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
Or a favorite brand of tobacco, or baking bread.
Right. There are also reports of tactile sensations, like a hand on the shoulder. And beyond the 5 senses, people frequently experience highly meaningful symbolic signs.
Oh, definitely. Like electronics turning on and playing a specific song right when the person is struggling with grief. Or a wild animal behaving in a completely unnatural, fearless way.
It's basically like receiving a sudden, vivid notification on a smartphone that you thought was completely turned off.
That is a perfect way to describe it.
But here's where I struggle with the traditional clinical framing. When psychiatrists and doctors default to throwing around the word hallucination, I honestly get defensive on behalf of the grieving person.
I completely understand why.
It sounds like they're being called crazy just for missing their spouse. It feels incredibly minimizing. Isn't that automatically dismissive to someone who is grieving?
What's fascinating here is that the forefront of modern clinical research completely agrees with your frustration. The word hallucination carries an immense amount of baggage.
It really does.
In medicine, it implies pathology. It suggests a break from reality, a deteriorating brain, or some psychiatric disorder. But extensive reviews of the literature strongly recommend that we abandon that term for these events entirely.
So what are they supposed to call it instead?
Modern guidelines suggest adopting a much more neutral descriptive term. They call them sensory and quasi-sensory experiences of the deceased.
I mean, it's a bit of a clinical mouthful, but it completely removes the judgment.
It does. It validates the subjective reality of the experience without treating the person like a patient. Because the vast majority of these experiences happen in entirely non-clinical contexts to people with zero history of mental illness.
They are a normal, biologically driven part of the human condition.
Exactly.
So if these experiences are so universal, crossing every demographic, education level, and geographic boundary, we have to look under the hood. We're moving from the outward statistics to the inner workings of the human brain.
Right, the mechanics of it.
How does a physically healthy brain, whether we are waking or sleeping, generate an experience so vivid that it completely overrides our actual physical environment?
To understand the mechanics of this, we have to look at how modern neuroscience understands perception. Historically, we thought the brain was like a camera, just passively receiving light and sound from the outside world.
Just recording what's there.
Right. But it is actually a prediction machine. It constantly guesses what is going to happen next based on past experience, and then uses your senses to check if its guess was right.
Okay, so it anticipates reality.
Exactly. And over the course of a long relationship, say a 30-year marriage, your brain builds a massively detailed neural representation of your partner. Neuroscientists call this the person network.
So this person network isn't just a visual memory of what they look like, it's an entire web of data.
It is everything. It encompasses the specific cadence of their footsteps in the hallway, the exact pitch of their laugh, their smell, how their body heat feels next to you in bed. The brain dedicates a massive amount of physical real estate to predicting this person's presence.
Wow.
And when that person dies, they are physically gone from the external world. But internally, that entire neural network, that massive web of expectations, remains completely intact.
It's essentially like a smartphone that is constantly searching for a familiar Wi-Fi network.
Yeah, that's a great analogy.
The network router in the house has been permanently unplugged, but your phone still has the network name saved, it has the password saved, and it is sending out ping after ping, trying to connect to a signal it is entirely programmed to expect.
And because the brain is expecting that connection, the sudden permanent lack of a signal forces it into a state of prediction error.
A prediction error?
Yeah. It is trying to reconcile the intellectual knowledge of the physical absence with the persistent, hardwired emotional expectation of their presence. Sometimes, in order to resolve that intense conflict, the brain just fills in the blank itself.
It just makes it up.
It taps directly into those intact neural pathways and generates the sensory experience internally. It boots up a deeply vivid internal virtual reality. And we see this operating most powerfully when the brain's critical filters are lowered, like during sleep.
The sleep data is incredible, by the way. I was looking at the 2025 dreaming study by Black, Balicki, and Rolfe.
Oh yeah, that is a fantastic paper.
They found that nearly 73.5% of people who lost a partner and about 59.3% of people who lost a pet reported dreaming of them shortly after the loss.
And these aren't just normal dreams either.
Right. These aren't the normal, chaotic, jumbled dreams where you're late for a math test you never studied for. Participants describe these dreams as hyper-real.
They feel profoundly different.
Exactly. And when you combine those vivid sleeping encounters with waking experiences, over 82.5% of individuals who lost a partner report some form of direct sensory contact.
It's almost the default human experience.
But I'm genuinely struggling with the neuroscience here for a second. If My brain is just glitching because it misses my dad. If it's just a prediction error firing off dopamine and serotonin to soothe me, that feels incredibly depressing.
I hear that a lot, actually.
It feels like a biological parlor trick, you know?
Yeah.
Does explaining it as an internal virtual reality strip away the love? How do clinicians justify reducing a profound moment of connection to a neural error?
I understand why it feels reductionist, but neuroscientists and psychologists view this quite differently. It doesn't cheapen the experience at all. It actually reveals the absolute physical reality of attachment. The fact that someone can impact your biology so profoundly that your brain fundamentally rewires its own architecture to hold on to them, that isn't a parlor trick. That is the biological signature of deep, enduring love.
The biological signature of deep love.
Yes. It is the physical manifestation of an emotional bond refusing to be erased by death.
Yeah.
The brain is literally keeping them alive in the only universe it controls.
That completely changes the framing for me. That is actually really beautiful. And before we dive into how this biological reality dictates the actual grieving process, I want to take a quick second here.
Sure.
If this is resonating, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the next deep dive. We tackle these kinds of mind-bending human experiences all the time. And please like, comment, and subscribe to hear more My Mind MashUps deep dives.
So understanding that our brains are physically wired to keep these networks active leads us to the crucial clinical question.
Right, the psychology of it.
Exactly. How do these internal virtual realities, these spontaneous visits, actually function psychologically? Do they help people survive devastating loss, or do they hold them back?
Well, for a very long time, society and early psychology pushed a very specific, rigid narrative. You still hear it constantly, right?
Yeah.
You have to move on, you need closure, you have to let them go completely.
Yeah, that implies that healing requires severing the emotional tie completely.
Which feels impossible for a lot of people.
Because it is. That perspective is rooted in a very old Freudian model of grief. The idea was that you had a limited amount of emotional energy, and if you kept it invested in the deceased, you couldn't invest it in new relationships or in your own future.
So the clinical goal was just total detachment.
Right. But contemporary psychology has realized that this model is not only inaccurate, forcing people to detach can actually be deeply harmful.
So what do we do instead?
Modern clinical practice revolves around something called continuing bonds theory. This theory recognizes that maintaining an ongoing, transformed internal relationship with the deceased is highly adaptive and completely healthy.
And these spontaneous visits, these ADCs, play a massive role in cementing that continuing bond. The vast majority of people, like 81%, find these sensory encounters deeply comforting.
It is a huge source of relief.
And nearly 47% say the experience directly aids in their ability to accept the reality of the loss. I mean, it brings so much peace that modern clinicians are actually utilizing therapies designed to artificially facilitate this feeling of connection.
Yes, there is a specialized clinical protocol called induced after-death communication, or IADC therapy.
IDC therapy.
Right. It utilizes bilateral stimulation, which basically involves having the patient move their eyes rapidly back and forth while focusing on the sadness of their loss. It is a technique borrowed from trauma processing therapies like EMDR.
I've always wondered about that. What is the actual mechanism there? Why does moving your eyes back and forth do anything to process grief?
It's really clever, honestly. The rapid eye movement taxes your working memory. When you bring up a highly traumatic or sorrowful memory, the emotional centers of your brain, like the amygdala, usually light up in a state of sheer panic.
So you get overwhelmed by the emotion.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But by simultaneously forcing your brain to track a moving object with your eyes, you drain the cognitive resources needed to sustain that panic. It essentially mimics the information processing that happens naturally during REM sleep.
Wow. Okay, so it just takes the edge off the memory.
More than that, it allows the brain to take a traumatic, stuck memory, strip away the debilitating emotional charge, and reconsolidate it. And once that overwhelming sadness is cleared, patients in IADC therapy frequently report a spontaneous, positive feeling of connection or communication with the deceased.
And the clinical outcomes of this are not subtle. The therapy has shown a massive reduction in global grief severity. We are talking about a remarkable effect size of D equals 1.56.
Which is huge in clinical terms.
It virtually eliminates the debilitating, paralyzing aspects of daily grief for these patients. It allows them to process the trauma of the loss without losing the bond. So what does this all mean?
Well, it's a paradigm shift.
It is, but I keep wondering about the dark side of this. What is the line between receiving a comforting midnight sign and searching so obsessively for signs that a person becomes permanently trapped in their grief.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, that is exactly why clinical caution is still required.
Right.
While the vast majority of these experiences are benign and beautiful, complicated negative cases do exist.
Like what?
Well, if the reported visit mirrors intense pre-death conflicts, say, a loved one appearing angry or critical, it can severely complicate the grieving process. It triggers guilt instead of comfort.
Oh, that makes sense.
There is also a minority of people who experience profound distress simply because the encounter completely shatters their strict religious or secular worldview.
Right. If you have spent your entire life as a strict materialist, believing there is absolutely nothing beyond the physical world, and suddenly you feel a ghost sit on the edge of your mattress.
Yeah, that is going to cause a massive psychological crisis.
And to your point about becoming trapped, clinical intervention is necessary when the pursuit of these experiences overrides a person's present reality, isn't it?
Precisely. If someone is experiencing severe sleep disruption, extreme anxiety, or an inability to function in their daily life because they are obsessively waiting for the next sign, the bond has become restrictive.
So it's about balance.
Yes. The goal of a continuing bond is to allow you to carry the essence of the person forward with you into the future, not to anchor you so tightly to the past that you stop living your own life.
But knowing the biology and the clinical psychology only gets us halfway there. Because a brain might generate the image of a departed loved one, but it's the culture we live in that tells us whether we should be comforted by that image or terrified of it.
That is such a crucial point. Humans don't just experience biological data, we interpret it. Culture acts as the operating system for our perception.
The operating system, I like that.
The raw sensory data of the visit is just the code. But whether your brain's operating system sorts that code into a folder marked Beautiful Miracle or a folder marked Psychiatric Emergency depends entirely on the framework you were raised in.
You see this play out perfectly in Japan during the Obon Festival.
Yes.
It is culturally expected and celebrated that the spirits of ancestors return to the family homes during this specific time of year. The dead are seen as active, continuing participants in the daily lives of the living. Because it's completely normalized, there is zero stigma.
None at all.
But in Western cultures, we have this tragedy of silencing. Because we immediately pathologize these events, people are terrified to share their stories. They sit on deeply profound, life-altering experiences for decades because they don't want their kids to put them in a nursing home.
And this raises an important question about what we lose when we silence these experiences. When people are allowed to embrace them, the psychological benefits extend far beyond just mourning a specific person. It alters how we view existence itself.
Really? How so?
Well, a 2025 Omega study compared people who had ADCs after an expected death, like a long illness, versus a sudden, unexpected death. And they found that regardless of the trauma involved, the encounters are perceived as overwhelmingly positive.
And it fundamentally shifts our existential dread, too. Research from the University of Virginia shows that these sensory encounters heavily reduce the fear of death in the people who experience them.
It gives them a sense of peace.
It often leads to a significant increase in the belief that consciousness actually survives the physical body. It provides a profound, mystical reassurance. Here's where it gets really interesting, though. Let's do a thought experiment.
Okay, I love these.
Because cultural frameworks are like different colored lenses on a camera, right? The raw light is the same, but the picture changes entirely. What if tomorrow, science somehow provided definitive, undeniable proof of after-death contact?
Like a machine that proves it.
Yeah. Say we invented a machine that proved, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that human consciousness survives and can communicate. Would that scientific proof actually heal human grief? Or would it just create 1,000 terrifying new questions?
It's a brilliant question, and honestly, I don't think it would heal it completely.
Or not?
Definitive proof of survival might eliminate the fear of the void, but grief is not just the fear of absolute nothingness. Grief is the agonizing pain of physical absence. Even if, as an absolute scientific fact that your spouse's consciousness is in the next room, if the door is permanently locked and you can never physically hug them or hear their laugh resonate in the air or share a meal with them ever again, you are still going to mourn the loss of that physical intimacy.
You still miss them here in this physical reality.
Exactly. Science hasn't settled the metaphysical question. But whether it is a hallucination born of grief or a genuine anomalous form of consciousness, the subjective comfort it brings is undeniably real.
And that is where we have to land today, with a profound sense of humility. We don't have that machine. We don't have a neatly wrapped, case-closed answer for you.
No, we really don't.
Maybe the human brain, in its desperate attempt to survive the unimaginable pain of loss, temporarily rewrites our reality to keep us going. Or maybe deep love tunes our human perception to a frequency that our current scientific instruments simply aren't equipped to measure yet.
Either way, the sheer power of the human experience and the undeniable reality of love deserves profound respect.
It absolutely does.
And I want to leave you with one final thought to ponder on your own today, something that ties the biology and the mystery together.
Let's hear it.
If the human brain possesses the architecture to perfectly simulate the presence, the voice, the smell, and the touch of someone we've lost, does that mean our loved ones live on inside our neural pathways just as tangibly and just as powerfully as they did in the physical world?
Wow, that is a beautiful and heavy thought to carry with us. We really want to hear from you on this one. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Your perspective could shape our next deep dive.
Have you experienced that midnight awakening? How did your personal operating system interpret it? Let us know.
And remember, you can find My Mind MashUps everywhere you listen. Amazon Music, Audible, Facebook, Pocket Casts, Spotify, TikTok, and YouTube. So the next time you wake up in the middle of the night and the house is perfectly quiet, but you feel that unmistakable presence, remember the person network. Remember the continuing bond. And remember that the love you feel is still very, very real. Thanks for listening, everyone. We'll catch you on the next deep dive.